This is how you transform your life in
I'm on a
11
mission
days.
to
This is how you're going to change your life.
I completely changed my life this year, and the motto that truly carried me through all the hard times is I am gonna do the hard things because I love myself.
Hi YouTube, my name is Judith. I am 28 years old, and for the next 300 and something days, I want to design my dream life. I know that YouTube, Instagram, pretty much everywhere is full of new year, new me content, how to grow up your life, how to change your life in X amount of days. This is not what this is. This is entirely personal. As I film this today, it is the 27th of January, so I've had a few weeks to settle in and figure out if I really want to do this. And the consensus is I do. I do. And as I get into who I am, I'll explain why. Now, there's different versions of this out there. Glow up, change your life, transform my life, etc., etc. This is not like that. I want to be able to look at my life in the next year and say, wow, I did it. And this is how. So without wasting any more time, I'll introduce myself. Hi, my name is Judith. This time last year, I became a full-time founder or entrepreneur building a fashion tech startup. 2 months prior to that, I handed in my notice at my finance job. This was scary. This was the scariest thing I have ever done to date, and probably will remain in the Hall of Fame of eventful things I've experienced. I quit my job for several reasons. The first one being I found it hard to manage both building the startup and building my career at the same time. I always said that one would have to give at some point, and it felt like that was the point. Now, the problem was I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think I'd consumed myself in my startup for so long that I actually didn't realize I was starting from scratch the minute I handed in my notice. So what the past year has felt like has been me going around in circles until September. September, I started posting content on TikTok about something I've always wanted to, but felt unqualified to do so. And that was talking about fashion. I enjoyed fashion, but I never took that interest seriously. And so what I really wanted to do with my life was, do what everyone tells you to do. So either study law, which I did, or work in finance, which I did. And I just felt lost. It felt like I was working in roles that required me to be someone I wasn't. And to be very honest, with the work that I do at my startup as I'm head of marketing, there was a part of my brain that was excellent at something that I wasn't given enough time to. And to me, that was in the area of creative consulting and marketing. So I spent the last few months to figure out what it is that I actually want. Do I want to work in marketing? Do I want to work in fashion? And if so, what does that look like? I didn't study fashion. I don't come from a fashion educational background. It's part of the list of rules I've made up for myself that make me unqualified when that is not the case. So since September, I started posting about my thoughts on fashion and culture, and the results have been mind-blowing. And it's an indication to me that I'm on the right track. So I started January with this idea that my life has to change. And if I really put my head down and commit myself to these areas, there's no reason why it shouldn't. You would think clarity of this magnitude feels comforting, but actually it feels quite daunting. Doing this challenge or going on this journey feels very messy. I still don't know a lot of things. I feel like I'm just going through the motions every day, trying to figure out what it is I'm supposed to do today versus tomorrow versus the next day. And I've read many a self-help book in the context of business, but applying it to my life, this definitely feels like the messy middle. Is that area in life where like nothing's making sense, but it's coming together, even though it doesn't feel like it. No one prepares you for how hard it is to start over. And the craziest part about changing your life is it doesn't feel like it's changing. So I'm here for accountability above anything else. This is not about trying to clickbait you into changing your life. I'd love you on the journey with me, of course, but it's about mine. It's very personal, and I'm determined to stick to it. When we talk about building your dream life, there are 3 things that you need to know. 1, it's the messiest thing you'll ever experience. I promise you, it doesn't feel or look as good as it sounds. You start every journey excited on what you could look like or what life could look like at the end of it, but no one talks about the process and how messy it can feel and how you just don't know what you're doing half the time or you relapse back into old habits. No one talks about that. And it happens and it's fine. And what I want to do over the next 12 months is document the good and the bad, i.e., me sticking to what I say I'm going to do. And some days I don't stick to what I say I'm going to do. It's part of the journey. I'm very sure that there's nothing on the other side of greatness that comes easy. I know this. You should know this. We all know this. The second thing I would remember when designing my dream life is it gets hard before it gets easy. We are talking about new habits. We're talking about a new perspective on life. These things take time. It takes time to train your mind to keep going. It takes time to train your body to keep going. You can't look at that as a hurdle because it's part of the process. The hard part, you can't skip. You can't skip the hard part. You can't. Trust me, I've tried. It takes years for some people to become masters in a certain field, in a certain craft. And let me tell you, those years are probably the hardest years they've ever had to endure. But it's always worth it when you come out on the other side. And that's what I'm waiting for. The third thing I'm taking note of while designing my dream life is accountability is key. I used to be really embarrassed when I tell people I'm going to do something and I don't do it. There is nothing more embarrassing than that. I'm sorry. I hate not being a woman of my word. Like, yuck. And I'd love to reach a point this year where I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. Like, if I said I was going to do that, I did it there and then. Accountability for me kind of forces you to become that person, especially when it's a bunch of strangers watching me on the internet and are going to track my journey for the next 12 months. I cannot lie. I will not lie. And so if I don't stick to this, then everybody knows I am not a woman of my word. And that's my worst nightmare. So before we get stuck in on this video, I do want to talk about what to expect from me on this channel. I want to be really transparent and I want to show you in real time the day-to-day of what it takes to design that dream life. And some days will be more eventful than others. And most months may be very quiet and me just head down working on something. But I want to share it because I think it's important. Not everything is as glitz and glamour as people would expect when trying to design something like their dream life. Then every quarter, I will sit down like this and will reflect on the past 90 days, on the past 6 months, and on the past 9 months. And then the yearly reflection will be at the end of the year. We'll be able to break down the patterns and the methods in getting the ball moving over a period of time, whether it's 90 days or half a year or a whole year. It's probably the hardest thing I'm ever going to do, but I'm ready to see where this year takes me. When I think about designing my dream life, I know there are so many ways to do it. I think a lot of people follow what we know as like the 3-month year or the 12-week year, I think it's called, and just different ways that have been tried and tested and proven to work for most people. The reason why I'm not following any of those structures is because I've had enough. I've had enough of the rules. I've had enough of you only have 12 weeks to change your life. Like, I know that's not what it's saying, but it feels like that and I'm over it. I am tired of planning. If anyone has a master's in planning, it is I. It is I, and I've had enough. So for the past like 2-3 years anyway, I've always mind mapped my year. I don't subscribe to any of those other like Notion boards or Notion plans. Well, I will most likely put some of these processes in Notion or in any other app. It's not where this whole project lives. This lives in my mind, hence the mind map. So for 2022, 2023, and 2024, I do mind map my year in terms of planning my year anyway. So it does feel apt to use this method to plan this project. So I've just made rough notes on the 6 areas that I'm focusing on and that I will be documenting and will be sharing with you. Now, I think the best part about this is there is no deadline. I'll show you in a second what each of these 6 areas mean and what that will look like when documented. But if you are following something similar to what I'm doing, or you want to do something similar to what I'm doing, this is how I do it, because I don't want to be consumed by the numbers of, oh my God, I didn't hit 10K on YouTube, or oh my God, I didn't hit, 20,000 on TikTok. I'm focusing on the consistency of doing the thing. The first area of my dream life we're going to focus on, because it's the easiest, is my content creation. So I would have said this in the introduction, but if not, I post content about fashion commentary and culture. And why I did that was to promote my Substack, which is the bulk or the meat of this whole like Trend Guys project. Now, my process with this is I really wanted to be consistent. That's my main goal. That's all I care about. Designing my dream life is less about the numbers I can achieve at the end and more about saying I posted 100 videos consistently or consecutively for a whole year. That to me is insane. And when I say design my dream life, it's less about making it look the part, it's more about putting the processes in place that will help me achieve that goal. So after that, obviously, I want to be able to write 24 Substack newsletters, which works out to about 2 a month. Technically, I have 2 newsletters. I have the main articles that I write, and then I have this new section I'm launching this month called Off the Shelf, which just goes into things I'm reading, things I want to buy, things I've bought, and just my thoughts or my perspective on things. The next point, and I think this covers everything actually, is be loud. I want to be loud about it. I'm really bad at sharing my work. I'm really bad at, I think, in a way, missing the opportunities that come from sharing. I see a lot of people, whether it's creatives or just people in the corporate world, that will share the work they've done or share their perspective on things. And that's how they get a gig or they get a huge project that changes their life and leads them closer to their dream life. So these are all about the methods or the steps that I'm taking to get me closer to that dream life versus painting it and making it look cute. Next up, I've got interiors. So what I didn't say at the beginning is being multidisciplinary means that there are a lot of things I'm great at. And last year, my friend launched her content studio. Oh my God, it was 2 years, well, 2023, November, sorry. She launched her content studio and I actually designed the interiors for it. This has been like a lifelong goal of mine to get into interior designing. I feel like it's something that I'm really gifted at naturally, and I'm not just saying that. I believe that, and I want to nurture that skill and nurture that growth. I didn't think I'll be doing it this soon. My friends recently bought a new house. It's such an amazing project, and they saw that work, which is why I say be loud, and asked me to do the interiors for their home, which I do not take lightly at all. So that's my first ever interior project, resi project, not commercial. And yeah, I want to document that on site, off site, that whole process. I want to share what that looks like. Again, I'm not focused on get 5 more resi projects on the end, on the back of this project. Nope. I'm focused on just completing it, just doing it. I believe that doing all of these tasks will get me closer to that dream life than shouting about doing it ever can. And so it's important to just do. That project kickstarts in February, so we are literally going straight into it from the start. Next up, I have fitness, and I have been in the gym for 2 years now. I want to say 2 years, yeah, 2023, so 2 years consistently. Last year was a bit of a rocky year. I think quitting your job really just makes you realize like how scary it is to like start over, and it feels like I was doing that in every aspect, figuring out my new routine, figuring out who I was, figuring out what my day-to-day looks like, all that good stuff. So I decided to kickstart the year with a 75 medium. Now I kickstarted it on the 13th of January as a 75 hard to just kind of like shake my body into action. It's finished me because I know I'm mentally not quite there, and that's okay. But the goal was always for it to be medium, 75 medium. Again, there is no goal for the end result. I'm not trying to get a dream body off the back of that, but I am trying to be consistent with things and keep my routine in check. One of my friends helped put together a personalized dream body workout plan. I do need to adjust it because I think I'm going to be in the gym 4 days a week, not 6. And I'm going to work out, like do an outdoor walk or an outdoor run for the other 2 days instead of an indoor workout. So 6 times a week, I will be doing something physical, whether it's walking, whether it's running, or whether it's working out. Next up, lifestyle. I have started therapy on the back end of last year. There was a lot going on personally, and I think I'd hit that year mark of being full-time and looking around and thinking, what have I done this year? What have I achieved? I felt like such, I don't want to say a failure because I'm not, but the sentiment was similar. I just felt like there was more I could have done, and I always hate that feeling. And I think, to be honest, that's what spurred this journey and documenting designing my dream life, because I said I can't feel like that again. I don't want to feel like that again. And so therapy is going to be a huge part of this, not necessarily just the therapy part, but the work that goes into being accountable to someone, actually addressing your feelings. I'm queen of not doing that and just trudging along. None of that anymore. So yeah, that's going to be fun. After that, I do want to eat clean. Eating clean obviously goes hand in hand with working out. If I'm going to be working out 4 times a week, like I usually do, my food, my diet, it needs to match the effort I'm putting in the gym. I find that I have fluctuations a lot. So I have periods where I'm so on it, other periods I'm so not on it. I need to find that balance, that medium where I don't feel like I'm going to either extreme, but I do want to be better with that. So higher protein, lower fat, and medium level of carb should be how I'm in general eating. You'll notice I haven't put anything finance there, and that's intentional. This is not about making money. This is not about making more money. This is about changing my entire life so that I am in the best position I can be to get the jobs I want and get the opportunities I want. I think a huge part of being in your 20s is trying to fight this feeling of living like you're surviving. And I feel like I've been in the depths of that, in the thick of that since 2024, the entire year, ever since I quit my job. And it's been tough. It's been really hard. Taking a leap when you've always followed the natural order of life is the scariest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Scariest thing I've ever done. And there's so much that people don't tell you. I could do a whole video on that, and I'm not going to do that today, but if you want it, let me know. So travel is on there because my best friend and I sat down and were like, we need a young, hot and fun list of things we want to experience, places we want to go, because left to us, we would plan world domination over tea, like over coffee, like in 2 hours. Like we would conquer the world, plan a whole brand, design, like this is what we love to do. This is what we're great at. But there's so much more out there. And I think also I've been on this side of land since 2022. I have not traveled. I have not experienced anything where I'm like, oh my God, I want to see that again. I want to feel that again. I haven't done anything. I've just been surviving. And part of designing your dream life is also seeing what's possible and experiencing what's possible. I think some people call it like immersive experiences, in the sense of you're immersing yourself in that future version of your life. Is literally that. And while it's funny to have clear credit card above travel, they balance each other out, in my opinion, and they're as important as each other. And I'm going to do that. Final thing is to figure out a new routine and stick to it. I will probably get into this in my vlogs because this has been such a sticking point for me recently. I've not been able to wake up as early. I used to be a 4 a.m. girly. If I get up at 7, miracle. I'm realizing my body's changing. I need 8 hours of sleep at this point, and that means I need to go to bed earlier, which means I can't be up late working as I usually am. There's so many things that need to change in this whole like period of life, and I think that's an area that needs the most change, and where a lot of these ideas or these plans that I have here will stem from is a good and solid routine. I did put 75 medium under fitness, but it does link to lifestyle. So an arrow will be joining here at some point, because 75 medium is not just about fitness, if you know, it's also about well-being. So reading a book every day, which we'll get into in personal development, and also my spiritual life, which I won't get into here, but that's something that's really important to me to be consistent with every day. Now with personal development, this one is interesting. You'll see in my vlog, the funniest thing happened at the end of last year, which kind of like changed my whole plan. I walked into a store, a consignment store, a luxury consignment store, bought a pair of Jimmy Choos and left there with the job, a part-time job. So 2 days a week on the weekend, usually I work there as a sales assistant. And it's funny because I have no experience in fashion other than this. And when you realize what it is you need to do or want to do, I feel like you have to start from scratch. Learn the basics, understand how it works, understand the industry, understand the market. And I'm learning so much about luxury fashion, about secondhand luxury as well, which doesn't necessarily relate to my startup, which I haven't spoken about here, but I will in one video, but it relates to that world of fashion and luxury experiences, and it's something I just didn't know. And they're also a really lovely place to work. It's somewhere where I'd never heard of before, and I thought I knew every single secondhand fashion consignment store that there is to know, but apparently not. So yes, I got that job, and I feel like it's the best learner or upskill position I could be in for sales/marketing. I feel like they're in like a interesting stage where I could hopefully speak to the founder if I needed more experience with marketing, and like split my time across store and marketing if needed. So I'm still figuring out what it is I would want to do there, but it's a great way to dabble into the fashion industry and understand the market a bit better. I do want to complete an online course. So initially this was in project management, which makes sense for my creative consulting work and also my interior projects, because they're basically project management. And this has always been something I wanted to do. So I started a Coursera, Google project management, like introduction to project management course in about a year ago. Obviously so much has changed since then, so I haven't gone back to it, but I think this is the year that I do that. So around March, I'll probably start again doing that once I've settled into the new year and the routine. I'm thinking to add in something relating to marketing there as well, because again, career-wise, if I want more roles in the creative consulting, creative directing areas or fields, I do want to show that I understand the work. I understand what I'm doing from not just an interest perspective, but experience. And that's something that I'm adamant I need to do. And then the final thing for now on personal development is to read 12 books this entire year. I have one that I just started. Should I show you? That I just started. And this was actually inspired by this whole discourse about Birkins and like the coveting of a Birkin. And so I did some research and I came across this book title called Status and Culture. It's by David Marks, called How Our Desire for Social Rank Creates Taste, Identity, Art, Fashion, and Constant Change. Perfect. So perfect. So I actually want to read this. I think this could be a possible article on Substack that I will dive into, or at least a video. I'm thinking Substack. I think we have enough there to talk about because there's so much to get into. But yes, this is my first book of the year, and I'm actually trying to mix this up. So for one non-fiction book, the second would be fiction. My friend has one, so she's gonna give me one to borrow after I finish this, which I'm excited for. And finally, we have creative consulting, and I've kept it so simple. I need to be loud. This links to what I was talking about with content creation, but there's so many opportunities that are waiting for you once you speak up about what you can do and who you are. No one on LinkedIn knows that I do what I do, the creative consulting work. No one on LinkedIn knows my capabilities. And I've seen it before where people are designers and they're like, I changed the branding of this website, or I changed the branding of this brand or the logo of this brand. And that's led them to opportunities with the founders or with the team. And before you know it, they're their client. And so I'm working on a POV series that will showcase the work I would do if I was hired as a creative consultant for a brand. It could be fashion, it could be beauty, but it'll always be in the luxury world, I think. I'm still fleshing this out, but that's something that I'm going to start doing because I think it's important to not shy away from the opportunities that are waiting on the other side of you doing. And so that is my 2025 plan. Like I said, 6 areas that you will see from me in my vlogs: fitness, content creation, interior design, creative consulting, personal development, and my life in general. I hope this helps. I really do hope this helps understand what we're doing here. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. But until then, my name is Judith. Welcome to Designing My Dream Life, and I'll see you in the next video.